at not calling it life insurance, because a lot of times people, as we said in previous episodes, that people tend to see it as only for death. And that is not what, it's not totally for death. There are some other events that may take place in your life that require a living benefit if that's what you qualify for. And so there's also some benefits to proactive protection, at your quality of life, or making plans for your children, or making plans for yourself on things you might want to have later on for retirement and things of that nature. So that is, of course, why you're living. So we're going to change our mindset on what it is. So I know some of you think, well, okay, Lenette, now you've talked about all these and these options I could have. Now, what is, well, let's say I do get to an appointment with you. That would be me. You get to an appointment with me, and I do a needs analysis based on, what are your goals, short-term goals, what are your long-term goals. Then, as we're filling out the application, because that is what has to be submitted in order for an underwriter to determine what options are available to you. So the application process, of course, it asks your name and things of that nature, but there are also some other questions it asks. So it may ask, of course, let's think about this. Your height. I can't change my height. When I go to the doctor, I cannot change my height by no means. This is the height I'm going to be. So it's pretty constant. So there's some other factors that you actually can have some type of impact on whether it decreases or increases. So for example, weight is one thing, because those are certain questions that are asked. What's your height? What's your weight? Okay. So then some other things that are asked may be about any health conditions you may have. So it may be a specific time period. So within the past 10 years, have you had, and they may list those conditions. And they may do one in the last 5 years, the last 3 years. It really depends on which option, which proactive protection option. It just depends. So for example, recently here, I did an application, and it was a whole life application. And so we'd finished the part about, in terms of, height, weight, and things of that nature. Okay, that part was completed. So the next part, what that had to be completed was, it was a questionnaire about any health conditions, any medications that you may be taking, things of that nature. So again, it can be extensive, but as I've said before, it's best to be honest, because when they're making the decision, they gather information from a variety of sources. And of course, as explained to you, when you're doing the application and submitting it, and they will disclose to you what sources they may access. So that's not something that will be a surprise. They may also ask, depending on your age or the particular option, there may be where you may have to submit blood work, or some other lab tests might have to be done. So it really depends. So it can't be just, if this particular option, you're going to have this. We don't really know, because you have all these different variables. So why it's important that we take a look at these particular aspects is also because, as I said before, as we get more mature and, there may be some health conditions that may not be. It doesn't mean just because we're more mature that there always going to be some type of health condition. Not saying that at all, because there's some other things that may help us. I mean, that could be genetics, it could be we exercise, it could be a variety. So I don't want anyone to say because we're getting more mature that it automatically means that your health is going to be worsened. That is not what I'm saying at all. But while you are healthy, it's often better for you because you may not have had any health conditions at that particular time. So that's why it's very important for us when it comes to our children, our grandchildren, nieces and nephews, as young as we can possibly start to think about proactive protection for them. Because again, if it is a permanent policy, such as your whole life, your universal life, then there is a possibility, again, to accumulate a cash value, which is that it compounds. Okay. If it's a term policy, there is no cash accumulation, which means there is no growth in cash whatsoever. So that's for a specific period of time. And I'm not necessarily saying one is better than the other, but what I am saying, it depends on what your needs are. So that's why I can't say, well, just simply talk to you and say, without any type of needs analysis, without any conversation about what options are before you, and advise you on these are your options, and based on your needs, these may be the best options for you. Of course, the choice is always yours. But again, providing you advice based on our conversation about your needs. So that's why it's important to do it as much as possible, as early as possible, rather. Not much as possible, but as early as possible. And also, in terms of if this is, you don't have any health conditions, that would be prime time to do it as well. Now, there are some other factors that may impact that in terms of they have what they call as ratings. So depending on the option, there may be, there's usually a non-tobacco, tobacco, or non-smoker, smoker. It just really depends on the particular option, the particular carrier. And when I say carrier, I mean the insurer, which would be the insurance company. So it really would depend on whether the particular guidelines for that option. So the better the rating in terms of your premium most likely will not be as high. We're taking everything else into account. So it's not just, okay, I'm a non-smoker, and so that means I'm automatically going to get a better premium. It doesn't work like that. They get the whole picture. And that's how the underwriters make the decision. So.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. So, we just have to have everything, basically put everything on the table.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And people go, I have this condition, I have that condition. I'm probably not going to qualify. You don't know that. Now, everyone who does submit an application for proactive protection is not approved. So again, it's not just simply putting in an application and then expecting to be approved. Now, your chances are a lot better in terms of your health, in terms of, in terms of that would be smoking, not smoking. And that would better your chances because, again, you have to think about it that with all those together, they make a decision. That's the decision is made by the underwriter. So, it's that's why it's important to go ahead and have an appointment with me. We determine what your options, what your goals are, based on what your goals are, and then an application can be submitted for that based on the information and the conversations that we've had.
Okay. Wow.
It's a lot. People go, in terms of just putting an application. Yeah, it's a lot more. It's a lot more than that. And when you are having your appointment with me. I'm going to say we're going to use me in that instance, since
Right.
I'm the one talking. Um, that, as I said before, there are some questions that are asked regarding your health. Do you exercise? Some of those take that into account. You know,
Hmm.
have you lost weight? I mean, there's lots of things they take into account. It just depends on the option. Not every option asks that, but you're better your chances. You really, really do. You better your chances. If it's younger, you do it younger when you're or your health is great. You better your chances that way in terms of your rating, which would be like I said, non-smoker, smoker. They may say preferred elite. I mean, it just really depends. It depends, or it just depends on the product. It depends on the option and the carrier.
Hmm.
So, or insurer. So there's a
Wow.
variety there. Yes, it's very. That's why we have to study and take a test. We have to be licensed for this, you know,
Hmm.
because it's in depth, you know.
Wow. Well, look, guys, again, if you are would like to know some more information, go ahead and contact her. There's her information right there, because yeah, she's giving out a lot, and yeah, it is that in depth as she said, and so
It
we
is.
need to understand what it is that we have, or simply go ahead and scan the QR code right there, all right,
Mhm.
on top of your screen. All right, again, she's not here to sell anything; she's just here to give you
Mm-mm.
information, and again, it's a great show right here. We're talking about the factors that may impact your proactive protection option. So, yeah, as you mentioned earlier, not everybody who fills out the application will
Mhm.
probably will not get accepted or so. And so we have to be mindful of that.
Yeah. So I don't want people to get the false sense that, well, all I have to do is put an application.
Right.
No, no, it's a little bit more than that because I'm the one that, in terms of collecting the information and then I provide it and I submit it. And then in some of the documents, it talks about the different resources or sources they may access too, as well. So, based on if you've been to your doctor or what have you, I mean, if they access that information, it is out there and possible. And of course, it's confidential. So it's not just hanging out there, but they will access different sources to get a complete look at you. So again, that's where, in terms of talking to me about, well, for example, Lenette, I'm taking whatever the medication may be, and but I've decided that I no longer want to take it, and I haven't taken it in 3 years. So I have taken the medication, but I'm no longer taking it as of 3 years ago. So certain things that, we can, communicate and say, this is the circumstances or what have you, or the context, or the person is no longer taking it, the medication, things of that nature. But that's why I say that to say this, that when you are completing an application with an advisor, that you be honest when they're asking the questions, because that doesn't mean because you have a particular condition that you're necessarily going to automatically be denied. Now, that's also to say that there are maybe particular ones that you could be denied. But again, it's not like so linear. People think, well, if I have this condition, then I'm automatically going to be. It's not that simple. That's why they get information, the underwriter get different information, or not different information, but a variety of information from those sources so they can get a complete picture. And that's what you want. You want them to be able to get complete picture so they can make an informed decision. And it's a lot.
That's it.
I
Getting
know it's a lot. And people are like, she is talking us to death. No, that's really the I want to say the synopsis or concise as I can be about the factors that impact you, that could impact what options you have.
Wow. Again, if you're just tuning in, feel free to comment in the chat section. All right. If you have a question or so concerning proactive protection, that's what we're talking about, or simply call Miss Lenette Hillian. All right. There's a number right there. Again, today we're talking about the factors that may impact your proactive protection options. Or again, she likes to substitute it saying that instead of life insurance. Okay. So again,
Yeah.
she's here to help. Just reach out to her, or even scan the QR code for more information. All right. Again, factors that may impact your proactive protection options. This is what we're talking about today. There you go.
Exactly. So, just want to give you some things to think about in terms of what your options may be. So, for example, I just completed here recently, I had a client, and I had done, the whole application process. And then this is something that happens. And the individual is not approved. So, with that being said, and even in those instances, I contact my clients and just be straightforward with them, and this is, why you were not approved. And then there's some decisions they make about what their next steps are, so that they are at some point able to, if it's something that they're able to do that can help them, in the future. And so it's not, even to call and say you're approved. I also will call and say you were not. And oftentimes I will do it, before you would hear from that particular carrier, so that we can have a conversation about what next steps are.
So let me ask you, the person
Mhm.
who was rejected. So
Mhm.
again, do you look for another carrier for them, or is that pretty much the end all be all, basically?
Um, in that particular one, there was something else on her end that would have to be, I don't want to say done, but we started doing like a plan of action about, in order to receive some type of coverage, what would she need to do on her part.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so that's what that was about. And if there's some type of time period, because I mean, there's certain medications or certain conditions that, there may be the time frame, and if you fall within that time frame, then you may not be approved. Now, and one of the other factors is time. So
Okay.
if you've been on a medication for 10 years, and then you may be applying now for proactive protection, but you've been off it for 5 years, just let's say for 15 years, it's 15-year span. And let's say they say the last 10 years, because it depends on the time period they're asking. So someone may say the last 10 months, some may say the past 3, some may say the past 5. And it just depends on what time period they're asking you. And that's what you answer your question. So if I were to say, well, this I was on this medication for 10 years, and I've been off it for the last 5. So I've been 15 years on it. 15 years. I was on it for 10, but for the last 5, I have not been on it. So if a question is asked, in the last 10 years, have you been on this medication, or have you ever had? The answer would be yes. Of course, it would be.
Right.
But it would only be 5. It would be 5 that I haven't been, and the other 5 that I was.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, so and that's why on the application that you get an opportunity to explain, so that's why it's important when you are completing the application with an advisor that, as they ask the questions, that you answer them honestly and truthfully.
Oh yeah, totally agree. Yes. Wow.
Yeah, because people think, well, I haven't, or if you've had, for example, if you had a prescription filled within the past, let's say 2 or 3 years or so, and you not use this filled, but you've never taken it, that kind of information is important to for us to include as well.
Understandably. Wow. So I'm just thinking of a person who's been rejected. So then say what one carrier won't do, will another do, or not? Or I don't know if that's the
It
same
really
question.
depends. And the other thing is you have to look at the time period too, because you don't want to, if you're denied and then you're going all around to all the carriers in applying. So there may be some time periods when you may have to wait. It depends on the guidelines. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
if someone is denied and they say, okay, well, I've been denied. Okay, so I may try, when is the next time that I could possibly submit another application? And again, it would depend on the guidelines.
Right, their guidelines, basically, what they want.
Mhm.
Um, the care. Okay, all right.
Because you will be asked, have you ever been denied? So in your question, you would answer that question, yes,
Hmm.
and put when.
Hmm.
Because
Okay,
the whole thing
all
is
right.
this: if a variety of resources are being or sources are being accessed, it's best to just go ahead and say, yes, this is what it is. This is the medication I'm on, because it will. I mean, it's something that will be communicated confidentially, of course, between the insurer and the source. And of course, you were told about what sources, so not going to be a surprise. They're going to say what they may access. You're giving that.
Gotcha. Okay,
So it's best to be
interesting.
honest and upfront about it.
Because they have ways of finding out pretty much as well. It's just like a credit check, right?
Well, in terms of confirming or finding more information,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's important to be
Go ahead and
honest.
be
I mean, that's
honest.
why I tell people, just be honest and upfront. And, with your advisor, it's important to do that. Because again,
Mhm.
even if something does appear somewhere talking about there's a particular medication or what have you, then there may be more of a context to it, or there may needs more information that may need to be included. So that's why I mean, it's very thorough.
Mhm.
Those questionnaires and service are very thorough because they're going to ask a lot of information, because again, they want to make the best informed decision of whether to approve you or not to approve you.
Definitely understandable. Wow. Man. Again, we talk about factors that may impact your proactive protection options. And so, um, again, it's good to know these things so that you
Mhm.
can avoid that, because if not, you'll keep going down, I guess, a deep hole or so until we can get that situated. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's things that, I would think, you start thinking about, well, um, this is going to impact me. And then some decisions that have been made earlier, you know, you didn't know how they might impact you now. So again, it's just important to have those candid conversations with your advisor, because again, remember, you're building, we see it as a building a rapport, because you, of course, you're entrusting us with your loved ones and your, information, and we treat it confidentially.
Awesome. Awesome. Wow. Again, if y'all have any questions, feel free, all right, to join in. All right, go ahead and scan the QR code up there if you
Hmm.
don't want to call. All right. And yes, Miss Lenette Hillian would love to get back with you with
Sure.
information that's going to help you. All right.
Hmm.
So we can be proactively protected.
Exactly.
Okay. And
Exactly. Because things change in an instant. They
that is
change
true.
quickly.
Things like,
It,
hey,
it,
that's
it,
how life is, right?
it changes. Is the only what they say. I don't know who the person is, but they say the only thing constant is change is the thing that's constant throughout our
Yes,
lives,
it is.
because it's going to change. Now I can't remember who the actual person is
I
that
think I
said
remember
that.
that. I can't think about, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It just came to mind just a minute ago, and so but the only thing constant is change. So you can look that up about who said that, and then me, that's true. That's one thing that's constant throughout our lives is there's some change happening. you know,
Yes.
there's change
Yes.
happening all around us all the time. So
And the thing is how you will respond to it. That is
exactly,
the key.
exactly, exactly, exactly.
Wow. 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 Well, Miss Lynette, hey, any last words you want to say to the people? We're almost pretty much out of time here. The time has flown by real quick.
I know it doesn't take long, does it? Although
Hmm.
some are like, yeah, I mean, I understand it's a lot of information. I do that and I try to make it as concise as possible. But I also feel that it's a responsibility of mine. It's my responsibility to give you just some of those nuggets to kind of help you start thinking about, you know, yeah, how is it the right time for me to do this? Because my health is great. I have, no other conditions, and I've made some changes in my, in the life. I no longer smoke. I've increased my exercise, of course. But I want you to see this is just to get you jumpstart, get it serve as a catalyst or to get you thinking about it proactively. That's the main thing. Let's start thinking about it now. I want it in the front of your mind. So
Hey, well said right there. Well, again, this has been another Power Pack for, again, the Proactive Protection podcast with Miss Lynette Hillian. Again, there's her
mhm.
information right there. Go ahead and give her a call. All right, reach out to her this week. All right, she would love to hear from you, or scan the QR
Love
code
to.
for more information right there.
Mhm,
All right, again, she's giving it to you as best as she can, and
mhm,
again, there's no tricks here. It's just she wants to help
mhm,
people
mhm.
and and you do what you do with the information. She can help
Exactly.
guide you as well. All right.
Exactly.
Well, hey, look, you all have a great one, and we'll see you for another Power Pack show of Proactive Protection Podcast with Miss Lynette Hillian. Y'all have a good
Y'all
one
have a
now.
great evening. Bye.